I haven't given up on humans yet, though here in America, where masked agents pull women and men from their homes, we are so far from the goodness I imagine. In second grade, I remember making forts at recess with small snowballs we'd squeeze into our hands. So carefully, so gently, we would place them one on top of another to create a small home. And then, maybe every time, when the recess bell rang, a group of boys would linger, and at the last moment, they'd kick our snow walls down. It is in all of us, the bully, the one who enjoys destruction, the one who wants to feel powerful, strong. But it is also in all of us to speak out for one another, to stand up for each other, to say, no, this is not okay. It is in us, all of us, to gather the way we did in second grade with our small mittened hands, going out the next recess and the next to build again, because we can. I usually don't do this, but something compelled me the other day to click on a video link in the news cycle to watch a video I knew would be hard to watch. It contained fatal violence, and I wasn't surprised to see a warning just before the video began, cautioning viewers about the severity of the content, giving me a chance to back away and avoid exposing myself to the severity of those contents, if I so chose. I watched to see a good person lose her life on the screen right in front of me. Today's message is going to be similar to that video. Not to worry, I'm not going to be showing a video. It'll just be audio from this microphone. But today we're going to be talking about murder, unnecessary killing, human against human. It's not going to be a feel-good, New Year's, new beginnings kind of day for us. Now, we heard about this in Matthew's gospel, embedded right there in our sweet holiday story about the Epiphany with wise men and dreams and gifts and stars. Right there with state-sanctioned violence. And if we don't look away, if we choose to expose ourselves by clicking the link in our minds and our hearts, we expose ourselves to the anguished screams of those parents from that story whose babies' cribs are left empty. The story of the slaughter of the holy innocents is typically observed on December 28th, but I wasn't here that day, and this story is worth hearing. It's relevant now. In fact, it's hauntingly timely now. I understand that we want the holidays and even the afterglow now to be gentle and joyous and safe and sentimental. And goodness knows, given the past year that many of us have experienced, we are yearning for those kinds of things. And yet, we are the seekers of truth, and the truth of the holiday is that Jesus was born into trauma. Now, when I hear that word, trauma, the first thing that comes to mind is soldiers who have experienced the atrocities of war, and needless to say, that trauma is very real, often leaving a lifetime of scars in bodies and families and communities. And there are other kinds of trauma as well, just as real, except more hidden. Domestic trauma happens behind closed doors, and a vast majority of the time is quietly carried in the bodies of women and children. We know that King Herod was a mass murderer of the political variety. What some of us might not know is that historians tell us that he was also a domestic abuser. He regularly beat his wife Miriam before having her killed. His own household was one of abuse long before he turned his brutality onto the public. Herod is a good example of the fact that the same logic that justifies domestic violence justifies political violence. The same mindset that says, I will do what I want to your body, is the mindset that says, I'm entitled to your possessions and your land and your labor and your future. Underneath is the same need for violence, need for control, need for dominance, hatred of vulnerability. They reflect the same absence of grace, simply at different levels. The killing of the holy innocents in Jesus' time echoes a very similar story in Israel's history. Does anyone know what that is? Do we remember the story of Pharaoh fearing the rising population of the Hebrews and therefore ordering all baby boys to be killed? One child, Moses, hidden and sent along the river in a basket, grows to lead his people out of enslavement, procuring freedom in the face of political oppression. Sounds familiar, huh? In the gospel, Matthew's story is very much the same. Another ruler, clinging to power, orders the killing of children, and yet against all odds, a liberator survives. This type of state-sanctioned violence isn't limited to Bible passages, is it? As was the case for Jesus and Moses before him, today, children are targeted because they represent the future that tyrants can't control. And in all of these narratives, there are systems and leaders that believe that violence is a legitimate way to secure power. And we, as seekers of truth, my friends, must acknowledge this and not look away. These types of mass killings are too numerous to name. One devastating example in our modern era, of course, is the Holocaust. And the practice of resistance, which is our focus for this month, includes remembering, and we must. But these issues aren't limited to our past. And this is underscored every time we hear of another incidence of anti-Semitic violence, a very recent one being in Australia. Another current day example is the war in Gaza, where life-saving institutions, hospitals, schools are destroyed. Deliberate attempts at starvation. Except there, no longer is it baby boys under 2. It's all babies, many of them who never see their first birthday. There's a statistic that over 1,000 babies in Gaza have lost their lives before the age of 1 since 2023. These are the current holy innocents. They're our holy innocence. And for us civilized folks in the United States, it might be easy to point out the barbaric violence happening in these other countries. However, part of practicing resistance is resisting the avoidance of looking in the mirror. The truth can be uncomfortable. As Al Gore says, the truth is inconvenient. Our country, we all know, developed and operated systems of oppression against indigenous peoples through chattel slavery and Jim Crow measures. Hitler took his example from us. And if you're in this country and if you're paying the slightest bit of attention, you will recognize us in these various stages of genocide, which I am about to share with you, developed by Gregory Stanton. In order, they are classification, us, them. Symbolization, naming, gypsies, Indians, a yellow star for a Jew, swastikas. Next is discrimination, denying the rights of the powerless by the powerful. Dehumanization of the thems. Organization, formally through government and militaries, informally through mobs. Polarization, the driving apart of the us's and them's. And oh my God, do we know about that these days? Preparation, planning for goals through inflammatory rhetoric. We need to kill them before they kill us. Persecution, victims are separated out and their rights are systematically violated. And then extermination, killings, sometimes mass killings, rape to genetically alter groups and cultures. And then finally, denial, attempts to cover up, intimidate, block investigations, blame. We have been watching these stages categorically unfold before us in this country, especially in this past year. People with hopes and dreams and lives just like you and me, divided, legal or not legal, brown or white, papers, no papers. People arbitrarily labeled criminals and cast as threats, collected as if by animal control officers, put in inhumane facilities before being shipped to some foreign country that they may or may not have had anything to do with. People blamed for an unstable economy when they were the ones who helped to strengthen it. Each of these stages apply to us in America, except maybe overt extermination through killing as much. But that's changing now, isn't it? My friends, our faith requires our eyes to be wide open, not looking away, in order to see that the Feast of the Holy Innocents is dreadfully relevant now. You've heard me say it a couple times. I'm going to say it again. Christmas isn't just about tradition and bountiful meals and festive songs, and it's certainly not about escaping the world's pain. Jesus was not born into safety. He was born under threat. He became a refugee. He was raised under occupation. And clearly, through all of that, God was with him every moment of the way. And we know that because there is no way he could have been the light that he was had that not been the case. So what does that mean for us then? Those of us who are experiencing this darkness, these circumstances that pull on our spirits and wear away our hope. It means that God is with those that are harmed in private settings, in public settings. God is with and in refugees. God is with and in survivors of domestic violence and abused children. God is with and in people whose sexual identity is politicized and endangered. God is with and in targeted people who are murdered. Yes, God is with us. That's not the challenging question. The question for us is, are we with God? It's challenging because God seems to be in these unlikely places. Typical places, sanctuaries, songs, services. Not so typical places, in the cries heard in a detention center, in the bruised and lacerated arms covered up by long sleeves, in long food lines, in makeshift beds made out of rubble, in quieted bodies under that rubble. God is waiting for us in those places and faces. If we want to truly experience God through the experience of these holidays, we will, but not in comfort, but in solidarity. Not in nostalgia and tradition, but in courage. Now I need to pause for a moment to say, exposing ourselves to the realities of the Feast of the Holy Innocents isn't supposed to bring despair. Instead, it is supposed to call us to the heart and soul of our faith, calling us to say the victims' names. Thank you. Disrupt the oppressive patterns. Go where God goes. Go where God lives. Refuse to deny these realities. And let us also not forget that there are two sides of the reality coin. One is the dark, gross side, and the other is the grace side. We've heard plenty about the dark side. What about that flip side? The grace side says that love has the final word. Because tyrants tumble, and villains are vanquished, and pharaohs fall, and all the while the evolution of emancipation through love and courage remains on course. It can't not. I'm going to leave you with a poem that beautifully speaks to both sides of this reality coin. The second reading we heard was from poet Rosemary Watola Tromer. I don't know where she lives, but it can't be that far away because you'll hear her speak about snow. This poem arrived in my inbox this morning. I actually emailed her a day ago to say, hey, I can't find this poem. Can you resend it? And she did. She's alive and well. She wrote this, entitled, All This, After the Killing of Renee Nicole Good. Into the woods I carried my broken open heart, knowing it rhymed with millions of other broken open hearts. And there, in the silence of the spruce trees and the new snow and cloudless blue sky, the heart gaped with its relentless ache. I so deeply loved the world, and I was so terribly upset by the world. All this. The snow was impossibly peaceful. It softened every broken rock, broken stick. I felt at the same time the raw wound of injustice and the infinitude of primeval peace, both of them saying, remember, remember, remember. Powerful words. I haven't even thought of a particular question to guide us with. Let's talk about this so that we're not all over the place. Maybe on this morning we can just be wherever we need to be. I'll hand the microphone over to Karen and let's just share whatever thoughts are on our minds and in our hearts.